Olive was 6 months old when we brought her, and by the time she reached a year old, she already had 10,000 Instagram followers. A few years in the game, Olive was one of the most followed pets on Instagram. She was a star. Every cute new trick I taught her turned into a viral video. People loved to watch our adventures. Just a girl and her golden retriever, exploring mountains and navigating busy cities. People stopped and always wanted pictures of the famous Olive and Katie. Olive, perpetually attention-starved, loved it. Her fur was a beautiful honey yellow. Her tail wagged constantly, and she had a distinctive tuft of white fur on her right ear. I loved her with all my heart. Our rise to social media stardom was accidental, but very fortunate. It meant I could leave my job at my dad's law firm and make my own way in life. I could finally leave my miserable job and live the fun life I always wanted, instead of being under the control and close watch of my parents.
Where are you going and what are you doing? That's not good enough.
I went off on my own adventure. I funded my own life and could fully support myself. I quickly moved from my small flat in London to a spacious house in Cornwall. It truly just was Olive and I loved it. It was a small cottage nestled between rolling hills. There was a spacious back garden and even a view of the dramatic Cornish coastlines. The downside of being an influencer is that if you're not careful, your entire life is public knowledge. My address had been leaked and I had a handful of strangers knocking at my door asking for photos of Olive. I love my home and I would hate to move. Despite the dangers, I stayed. I needed to travel into town one day. Knowing that my day was full of errands and shopping, I took my car and I left Olive at home. I knew she would be happy since I took her for a long and tiring walk in the morning. The cameras that I had set up around my home confirmed that the moment I locked the door, she headed straight towards the sofa and immediately fell asleep. She looked so peaceful, cuddling up to her favorite teddy bear. I took a screenshot of the video feed, unable to contain my smile. I posted the screenshot to Instagram, and I didn't think much of it. I hopped straight in my car and drove away. Little did I know, this was going to be one of my biggest mistakes. As I was browsing the cereal aisle in a supermarket about 15 miles from Olive, I got a notification on my alarm system. I opened my phone to view my live cameras, and I found 2 masked men forcibly entering through my front door. I dropped my basket of food. It clattered loudly against the floor. I immediately called the police. They assured me that a car was on the way, but they weren't fast enough. Once I was off the phone to the police, I sprinted to the car and I raced back home. I watched the stream as the intruders broke into my home and ran inside. My heart broke as I saw Olive barking and snaring at them. Olive had never so much as growled before, but I watched as she tried to stop the men from grabbing her. They used a pole with a metal loop on the end to catch her by the neck. She was defenseless. It didn't take long for them to drag her from our home and out of the front door. They shoved her into the back of the van and sped off down the road. When I arrived back home, I met the police there. I gave them the security footage, which clearly showed the van's registration plate. So I was feeling hopeful. Surely this would be an easy search. I was wrong. The police couldn't track the van. They took my surveillance footage and checked for evidence in my home. But their faces were covered, and they didn't leave any fingerprints. The police were supportive. They held me as I cried and begged them to find Olive. I didn't care how they did it. I just needed her back. My mind raced and my heart threatened to burst out of my chest. There was nothing that I could do. Time passed and I wasn't sure how much, but I did notice the sun rising and setting a few times. I mostly spent my days and nights scouring the internet, checking every website that sold pets, every shelter, every vet. I always assumed that her picture would appear on the next website, but I was always disappointed. I received an outpouring of love and support, but it didn't matter to me. My home was still empty. Every time I walked down my stairs or turned a corner, I expected her to be there. My heart just kept breaking. I was walking down the main thoroughfare of a cute fishing village. The sun was out and there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. Miraculously, there were no tourists. I had the road completely to myself. I instinctively reached down to give Olive a pat on the head, only to be reminded she wasn't with me. I started to wonder how long it would take to stop doing that, but shook myself out of it. I couldn't give up hope. I couldn't stop. I saw a flash of yellow dart between two cobbled buildings, interrupting my thought. I squinted my eyes towards the movement. I quickly ran after it, in between the buildings. Looking left and right, I saw the flash again. It was the same shade of yellow as Olive's fur. I was sure of it. I sprinted after her, shouting Olive's name. Eventually, I ended up in a park. It was empty, except for two men arguing. I gasped as I spotted Olive standing between them. They firmly gripped onto the lead attached to Olive's throat. Without thinking, I lunged forward towards them. I didn't know what my plan was. Do I try to fight them? Do I wrestle Olive away? I didn't know, and I didn't care. As I neared them, I began screaming, "Let go of her!" The men looked in my direction and cringed backwards. They quickly shared a few words that I couldn't hear. Olive immediately recognized me, and she started barking. She pulled with all of her strength against the lead around her neck. I was getting closer and closer, and I watched as Olive turned towards one of the men and clenched her teeth around his ankle. The man roared in pain. I was seconds away, and the man managed to rip his foot from Olive's mouth. They both bolted, dropping Olive's lead. I almost tripped over my own feet, coming to a halt next to Olive. She jumped in my arms and we both fell to the ground together. The tears poured from my eyes and Olive yelped with excitement. I shot upright from my pillow, aware of the sweat running down my brow. My chest heaved and my head was splitting with pain and dehydration. My heart thudded in my chest. I tried to gather myself. The room was dark, not even a glimpse of sunrise through my window. I quickly ran my hands over the surface of my blanket and tried to find her, but she was still absent. I'll try looking for her again tomorrow. I will find her. I'll never stop looking. In the meantime, I'll just keep seeing her in my dreams. Can you relate? Should I have been more careful with sharing my life on social media? Let us know in the comments. By liking this video and subscribing, you're helping this channel to grow.